I love that jacket.
Thanks. It has pockets.
We're drinking some Boston Harbor tea. So today we're talking about the history of American women in politics.
And we're using as a framing and discussion device fashion and specifically pockets. Because I don't know if you've been on the internet in the last couple of years, but women really love pockets.
Our clothes don't have enough pockets. I hate having to take a purse with me to go down the street to run a quick errand if I just had pockets to hold my crap.
And that, in the end, is the reason you don't have pockets. Women's fashion is extremely political, and the desire to remove some of their freedom by denying them the ability to carry the stuff that they need in their clothing, it was a deliberate decision. I mean, you know, it was like a societal decision. Yeah, so we're going to talk about the history a little bit of pockets, and we're going to talk about how that relates to women's desire and seeking of political power.
I mean, we're talking American history.
Mm-hmm. So for a long time, women and men wore pockets on the outside of their clothes in like a little bag.
Like a fanny pack.
Like a fanny pack. But that's extremely susceptible to theft. And so they would put the fanny pack on the inside of the clothes and then cut a little hole in the skirt or in the jacket.
My Felicity doll had this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyone who's had a Felicity doll knows what her embroidered pocket looks like, and the fact that all of her skirts had little
cut
holes
both
in them.
sides so you could have.
And the thing about a hidden pocket is that you can be carrying something and no one knows that you're carrying it. And so it's the secrecy aspect that sort of becomes the political part of why women are denied pockets, because men decided it's their business to always know what women are carrying and whether they're carrying anything that might be threatening, and also to keep them dependent on a man to be carrying their necessities like money, anything they need to get around. Bags come up as like a fashion thing too, but usually women's bags, until very recently in fashion history, have been very small.
So when does this pocket shift happen in more modern Western culture?
In Western culture, the shift towards no pockets for women really happens in the aftermath of the French Revolution.
Sure.
Most Western fashion is influenced by French fashion. So after the French Revolution, skirts became much smaller, so you couldn't hide things in them.
And they had been very active as both spies and some pretty famous assassins. Mm-hmm. So, you know, you don't want someone carrying a gun around under their skirts.
You don't want a woman carrying a gun around under her skirts. Men can carry guns whenever they want to. Yeah. One of the most famous spies in general in the American Revolution is Agent 355, whose identity is unknown, but she is widely considered to be a woman, potentially a woman of color. You know, secretly being able to carry things is kind of part of a spy's job.
Women were also very involved in the American Revolution. Mm-hmm. So then after that, you get this kind of curtailing of like, we need the populace up, we need people barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen.
And that is a theme that happens throughout American history. Yeah. We need women to like step up and start doing non-womanly things for a period of time, and then when that period ends, then they have to go back to their place. And the fashion really represents that also.
And one of the next times that happens is post-industrial revolution. There's suddenly this huge influx of jobs. Women are working in factories. Mm-hmm. Families are moving into cities in huge numbers.
What grows out of the industrial revolution is the suffrage movement.
Yeah.
And the demonizing of women's appearances, of their clothing, of like everything about them superficially starts at that time. And also the demonizing of pockets specifically. The idea of seeing a woman with her hands in her pockets was
demonized. Pockets?
Yeah, well, for women.
Sure.
Because they looked lazy or shifty or in some way undesirable, and this was used as a specific slur against women with pockets.
This is amazing.
So in Britain, this also leads to a movement of fashion that's known as rational dress, which is this idea that clothes in general, but clothes for women specifically, should be much more efficient, utilitarian. Women who espoused rational dress stopped wearing corsets with bones in them.
Because at the time, it was almost in some ways against the law.
You couldn't go anywhere. You didn't wear the uniform of the time.
Not just a social outcast, but like a community outcast if you weren't wearing these specific unwieldy things.
Yeah, but in the aftermath of the Industrial Revolution, you have like this sort of movement towards like more socialism and more, you know, egalitarianism, and men in their shirt sleeves becomes more popular, and so do women with pockets. It's like a blue stocking thing where like these are educated women who want more equal treatment, and they dress more plainly and more utilitarian.
So you'd be able to pick out your feminists from in a crowd. You'd be like, oh, that one's got a ton of pockets. She's got some ideas.
And as a result, too, women's fashion for women who don't espouse these has like a reactionary period where there's like all the frills and like the extremely tiny waists and like showing off that you're not a woman seeking any kind of undue power, that you have men to take care of you.
So how does that collide with the suffrage movement? These women going out in the streets having acts of civil disobedience at the time.
I mean, they're certainly demonized, and the biggest way in which they're demonized is through their appearance. Not just their clothes, but also their facial expressions, their voices. And this was a thing I didn't really even know about. Anti-suffragette propaganda isn't something that was covered in my high school education, not in the way that German anti-Jewish propaganda was covered, or the anti-black propaganda during the Jim Crow era. You definitely know what that stuff looks like, but I had never seen an anti-suffragette poster until like a couple of years ago. I guess I shouldn't have been surprised that they got the same treatment, but I am surprised that I didn't learn about it until so late.
Yeah. One thing about the suffrage movement that it definitely, as we discussed, holds true of other civil rights movements is that often you get these leaders who, to push forward, are kind of doubling down on stereotypes. So like the first woman who was elected to Congress, Representative Jeanette Rankin from Montana, was like a fairly feminine woman. You don't get these kind of like radical anarchist pants-wearing women actually holding office because they're too dangerous. So you get this kind of women are angels, therefore we need them to vote because they're morally superior than men and they will help save our country, which is garbage still. In terms of pockets, images that I've seen of suffragette leaders, many of them are still dressed in a very feminine fashion.
Right. I mean, I think there's very much to this movement of just because I want political power doesn't mean I'm not a woman. As anarchist and as revolutionary as Emma Goldman was, she still didn't wear pants.
Yeah.
Like, that's the one thing, like, that's the bridge too far.
Yeah. Well, and when you look at suffragette leaders like Ida B. Wells, who is truly moving forward with intersectionality, she's a woman of color in a white society. So
like, that's already the radical thing that she's doing.
She does not have the political and personal space. She can't, you know, wear pockets.
Yeah. The next point in American history where, you know, women's services doing non-feminine things were required is World War II.
Sure.
This is when women start wearing pants, but like specifically they wear men's pants.
Yeah.
They don't really wear pants that are tailored for women. So they have pockets. But as soon as the war's over and women have to go back to the house, there's an extreme reaction to the pants wearing, which is like Dior's new look, like very feminine silhouettes, very
women
dresses.
Are flowers. They love being flowers.
Yeah, which doesn't end until like the 70s.
Yeah, women love handbags. They need handbags.
And inappropriate and uncomfortable shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which makes seeking political power very difficult because it inhibits your freedom. That leads us to today, I think, where we have Hillary Clinton running for president at the time of this taping. She has not yet been elected, but...
We're not going to talk about her politics. As much as we disapprove of this in general, we're going to talk about her pantsuits.
I mean, because everybody talks about her pantsuits.
Yeah.
It's a thing. Someone I saw called out the fact that her pantsuits don't have visible pockets. Doesn't mean she doesn't have hidden pockets. She might very well have pockets that we can't see. But the vast majority of her pantsuits don't have pockets in them.
It's the suffragette thing again. Like, she is wearing a pantsuit, but there's an element where it's like she has to appear non-threatening. There's nothing she's hiding in a pocket.
She's not appearing in that way of like hands in pockets.
Lazy women with their
Yeah.
hands in their pockets. Women who are seeking power are often attacked for their appearance first. Because women are valued culturally for their appearance first.
And because it has such a long and robust history of working that when you attack a woman for an appearance, that is an effective barb. That when you do it now, it has the weight of history behind it and makes it seem more legitimate than it is.
Yeah. We wanted to reelect Supply with an Army, 3 of many incredible examples of women in U.S. history.
Who have sought power and
Never been elected.
I kind of want to read Agent 355. I think she's got a great story. Like,
Yeah.
we're dependent on other people telling her story from
Because
the
she
little bit
was
that we
such
know.
a good spy
Such
that
a
she's still a secret.
Yeah. Yeah. Think about the famous spies you know of, and you can pretty much always name them,
And
but
you're like,
she's a
oh,
secret.
wait, actually that person was a terrible spy because I know who they are. I guess I'd like to arm Ida B. Wells
Oh, yeah?
with an army of people.
Yeah.
I would trust
Just
her with
give
an
it
army.
to her.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I really would.
We can elect Emma Goldman.
Yeah. I'd rather elect her than supply her with an army, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true. That's
So-
true. You know, Bernie supporters.
Bernie would approve of her.
You would vote for her, so
Yeah.
I think she'd have
Yeah, totally.
a pretty solid electoral
Yeah.
base.
So get out there and exercise your hard-fought, hard-earned right to vote.